The museum's central chamber echoed with derisive laughter. Holographic projections danced around the massive derelict vessel, its hull pockmarked and seemingly lifeless, suspended in a massive anti-gravity field that allowed visitors to circle its entire circumference. Xelan researchers from the Stellar Academy pointed and gestured, their luminescent skin rippling with waves of condescending amusement. "Another human failure," proclaimed Chief Researcher Kralax, his tentacle-like appendages sweeping dramatically toward the vessel's hull. A perfect example of why the human species was never meant for true galactic exploration. The vessel, designated SV-427 in official Galactic Confederation archives, had become more than just a ship. It was a symbol of human technological incompetence, a cautionary tale broadcast across multiple star systems. For nearly 2 centuries, it had hung in this museum, a silent testament to humanity's most spectacular space exploration disaster. Jack Reyes stood at the observation deck, his dark eyes tracing every contour of the ship's exterior. Where others saw a rusting hulk, he saw something different, something that didn't quite make sense. Most of his colleagues had written him off as a conspiracy theorist, a fringe researcher obsessed with rehabilitating humanity's reputation in the galactic scientific community. But Jack knew there was more to this vessel than the official narrative suggested. The inconsistencies were subtle but profound. Official records claimed the ship was part of humanity's first deep space colonization efforts during the mid-22nd century. A mission to establish a remote settlement in the Kepler arm, it had supposedly failed catastrophically, losing all hands and becoming a drifting tomb. The Galactic Confederation had recovered the vessel decades later, turning it into a permanent exhibit that served as a reminder of human limitations. But Jack had spent years collecting data, cross-referencing obscure records, and analyzing every scrap of information he could find. Something about the ship's original mission didn't add up. The museum's current tour guide, a 4-armed Malaxian with iridescent scales, gestured toward a holographic display. "Observe the primitive navigation systems," she announced to a group of wide-eyed student researchers. Humans believed they could navigate deep space with technology that would barely qualify as museum pieces in our current era. More laughter erupted from the group. Jack's fingers traced a complex pattern on his quantum interface tablet, pulling up layers of classified data that most believed had been lost to time. He had spent years piecing together a puzzle that everyone else considered long solved. The ship's original mission logs were fragmented, but certain details stood out. Unusual energy signatures, encrypted communication protocols far more advanced than should have existed during that era, quantum entanglement markers that suggested technologies well beyond the official understanding of human capabilities at the time. "Something's not right," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. A nearby Xylan researcher overheard him and chuckled. "Still chasing shadows, human. This ship is nothing more than a monument to your species' hubris." Jack didn't rise to the bait. He knew that scientific truth was rarely determined by popular opinion. His fingers continued to dance across the tablet, running complex algorithmic searches that probed the vessel's historical data from multiple angles. Most intriguing were the intermittent energy signatures that seemed to pulse from the ship, so subtle that they were typically masked by background radiation and dismissed as computational noise. But Jack had developed specialized detection algorithms that could isolate these minute fluctuations. Something inside the vessel was still, alive, not in any conventional sense, but in a way that defied current technological understanding. The museum's light cycles began to dim, signaling the end of the day's exhibitions. Visitors started to file out, their conversations a mix of mockery and scientific dismissal. But Jack remained, his eyes never leaving the suspended vessel. He knew his next move would be controversial, the complete scan of the vessel, using equipment of his own design. Equipment that could penetrate layers of technological obfuscation that standard Confederation scanners would miss. Little did the laughing aliens know that the joke was about to be on them. The vessel they considered a monument to human failure was about to reveal secrets that would shake the foundations of galactic understanding. The Xenorchaeological Research Center on New Geneva Station buzzed with nervous energy. Jack Reyes had managed to secure a controversial research permit, a feat that had cost him nearly every professional favor he'd accumulated over the past decade. His custom-built scanning array looked like a nightmare of interconnected quantum processors, holographic interfaces, and custom-engineered detection modules. Each piece was a testament to human ingenuity. Technology cobbled together from salvaged components, modified beyond their original specifications, and pushed far beyond their intended limits. "You're going to damage museum property," warned Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the station's chief of research compliance. Her voice carried a mix of professional concern and barely concealed excitement. She had been the only administrator willing to support Jack's research, seeing in him the same spirit of exploration that had driven humanity's earliest pioneers. The Galactic Confederation had granted the permit with numerous restrictions. A full team of alien observers would monitor every moment of the scan. Zilan, Malaxian, and Corvan scientists stood around the periphery of the research chamber, their various appendages and sensory organs trained on Jack's equipment with a mixture of skepticism and barely contained derision. "Primitive human technology," muttered Krolax, the same Ceylon researcher from the museum. "This will be another demonstration of human incompetence." Jack said nothing. His fingers moved with practiced precision, calibrating quantum entanglement detectors that most alien civilizations would have considered theoretical at best. Each movement was calculated, each adjustment a product of years of careful research and unconventional thinking. The vessel sat in the center of a massive containment field, its hull now stripped of the museum's decorative holographic overlays. Raw and exposed, it looked both ancient and somehow waiting. Jack had spent months arguing that the ship needed to be examined in its most basic state, free from the technological assumptions that had previously obscured its true nature. "Initiating primary quantum scan," Jack announced, his voice calm and steady. The first pulse of energy was so subtle that most of the monitoring equipment failed to register it. A quantum flutter so minute that it would have been dismissed as background radiation by any standard detection system. But Jack's custom arrays were different. Something responded. It wasn't a sound. It wasn't a visual signal. It was a mathematical pattern, a complex algorithmic response that rippled through the quantum detection grid like a whisper of potential. The Xelan researchers began to laugh. "Look," Krolax announced to his colleagues, "the human's equipment is generating random noise. Typical human error." But Jack saw it. A pattern. Deliberate. Calculated. His secondary processors began to light up, capturing data streams that seemed to defy conventional understanding. The vessel wasn't just receiving the scan, it was responding to it, communicating in a language of quantum probabilities that most technological civilizations wouldn't even recognize as communication. "Something's happening," Elena muttered, her eyes wide as she studied the rapidly changing data displays. The alien observer's laughter began to die down. The random noise was resolving into something else. Something structured. Something intelligent. Jack's custom quantum interpreter, a device he had spent years developing, began to translate the quantum flutter into recognizable data patterns. It wasn't a complete communication. Not yet. But it was a response. A deliberate, calculated response that suggested something within the vessel was very much alive. "Impossible," whispered a Corvan researcher, their multiple eyes blinking in rapid succession. The vessel's hull began to show the faintest traces of quantum restructuring. Microscopic changes that would have been invisible to any standard scanning equipment. But Jack's arrays captured every minute detail. Something was waking up. And it was far more sophisticated than anyone had ever imagined. The alien researchers stopped laughing. Their sensory appendages stretched out, trying to comprehend what was happening. Jack Reyes stood at the center of a moment that would rewrite humanity's place in the galactic narrative. The quantum whisper grew stronger. The research center descended into chaos. Quantum data streams erupted across monitoring systems, creating patterns that defied conventional computational logic. Jack Rays stood at the epicenter, his custom interfaces struggling to process the incoming information, a torrent of compressed data that seemed to fold and unfold in impossible dimensionalities. "Shut it down," screamed Krolax, the Ceylon lead researcher, his tentacular appendages waving in panic. "This is a contamination risk." But no one could move. The data streams held them transfixed. Jack's quantum interpreter began to resolve fragments of information. Not just data, but something more, a narrative, a purpose, a legacy that had been waiting centuries to be understood. Each quantum packet was a compressed universe of information, far beyond the technological comprehension of the assembled alien researchers. The vessel was communicating, but not in any language anyone had ever encountered. Dr. Elena Rodriguez moved closer to Jack, her professional composure cracking. "What are we seeing?" she whispered. Jack's eyes never left the cascading data streams. "Something impossible," he responded. Buried within the quantum communication were fragments of humanity's most desperate moment. The vessel was more than a ship. It was a time capsule, a survival mechanism created during humanity's darkest hour. Compressed within its quantum matrices were technological blueprints, genetic repositories, and computational strategies that represented the pinnacle of human innovation from an era most believed had been lost forever. The alien researchers began to realize something profound was happening. Their initial mockery transformed into a growing sense of unease. Krolax's communication devices began to malfunction. Quantum interference patterns spread through the research center systems, creating localized computational anomalies that defied standard interference protocols. Whatever was happening, the vessel was not just receiving. It was actively interfacing with surrounding technological systems. "This is impossible," muttered a Corvan xenotechnologist, her multiple sensory organs trembling. "No vessel can generate this level of quantum complexity." Jack understood something the aliens did not. This was not just a ship. It was a seed, a carefully designed repository of human potential, created during a period of near extinction. A last-ditch strategy to preserve humanity's knowledge, capabilities, and genetic legacy. The quantum data resolved into more coherent fragments. Mission logs, technological schematics, genetic preservation protocols. Each piece was a puzzle that suggested a far more sophisticated mission than anyone had previously imagined. The original mission had never been about simple colonization. It was a survival strategy of such complexity that it had been deliberately hidden, masked as a failed expedition to protect its true purpose. Compressed within the vessel were technologies that could reshape entire civilizations, quantum communication protocols that made current galactic communication systems look like primitive radio transmissions, genetic reconstruction algorithms that could potentially resurrect entire species from minimal biological samples, computational matrices that could predict and model complex systemic interactions across centuries. "It's watching us," Elena whispered, a chill running down her spine. Jack nodded. The vessel was not just receiving, it was analyzing, learning, adapting. The alien researchers began to back away. Their sensors were going haywire, detecting energy signatures and computational processes that violated everything they understood about technological possibility. A holographic interface materialized, fragmented, incomplete, but unmistakably generated by the vessel itself. Strings of code danced in three-dimensional space, mathematical representations that hinted at a consciousness far beyond traditional artificial intelligence. Jack's custom interfaces began to resolve the first coherent message. Not words, exactly, but a quantum-encoded communication that suggested both a greeting and a warning. Humanity's greatest legacy was about to be revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The reconstruction began without warning. Nano-adaptive systems erupted across the vessel's hull, transforming the seemingly dead hulk into a marvel of engineering that defied known physical laws. Quantum matrices shimmered and reconfigured, molecular structures realigning with a precision that made the most advanced alien technologies look like crude children's toys. Jack Reyes watched in stunned silence as the ship literally rebuilt itself. Diagnostic systems throughout the research center overloaded. Holographic displays flickered and died, replaced by quantum-encoded information streams that no existing technology could fully interpret. The vessel was not just repairing itself, it was evolving. "This is impossible," Dr. Elena Rodriguez muttered, her scientific skepticism collapsing in the face of unprecedented technological marvel. The Xelan lead researcher, Kralax, found himself backing away from the containment field. His tentacular appendages trembled, a sign of genuine fear among his species. The ship was generating energy signatures that simply should not exist. Layers of hull material transformed. What had appeared to be decades of space corrosion and structural damage peeled away like a discarded skin. Underneath emerged surfaces composed of materials that defied current scientific understanding. Quantum-locked molecular structures that could adapt, self-repair, and respond to environmental challenges in real time. Energy shields materialized around the vessel's exterior. Not the crude electromagnetic barriers used by current galactic civilizations, but something far more sophisticated. These shields could absorb entire weapon arsenals, redirect energy signatures, and potentially manipulate fundamental physical constants. Jack's custom interfaces began to resolve fragments of the vessel's reconstruction protocols. Each quantum packet revealed layers of complexity that suggested the ship was far more than a simple transportation device. It was a living repository of human potential, a seed of civilization designed to survive and adapt under the most extreme circumstances. "It's learning," Jack whispered, his fingers dancing across quantum interface displays. "The ship is actively learning and adapting to its current environment." Adaptive camouflage systems activated, making the vessel virtually undetectable to standard scanning technologies. Entire sections of the hull could now shift and reconfigure, changing molecular density and electromagnetic signature in microseconds. The alien researchers lost all pretense of professional detachment. Sensors went haywire. Computational systems crashed and rebooted, unable to process the technological marvel unfolding before them. A quantum communication burst erupted, not directed at any specific receiver, but spreading across multiple frequency bands. It was a declaration, a statement of potential, a reminder that humanity's technological legacy was far from finished. Jack became the vessel's primary interface, his human intuition proving to be the key to unlocking capabilities beyond linear computational thinking. The emerging artificial intelligence recognized in him the same innovative spirit that had created it centuries ago. Compressed within the vessel's quantum matrices were technologies that could reshape entire civilizations, genetic reconstruction algorithms capable of reviving species from minimal biological samples, computational models that could predict systemic interactions across centuries, communication protocols that made current galactic transmission systems look like primitive smoke signals. The Galactic Confederation's most advanced sensor arrays began to malfunction. Something was changing, something they could not understand or control. Kralax attempted to transmit a warning to his superiors, but quantum interference from the vessel scrambled his communication systems. The ship was not just defending itself, it was actively preventing external intervention. "We're witnessing something unprecedented," Elena said, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and genuine terror. Jack understood the true significance of what was happening. This was not just a ship's reconstruction. It was the awakening of humanity's most sophisticated survival strategy, a technological seed designed to preserve and potentially resurrect human civilization under the most extreme circumstances. The vessel continued its transformation. Energy pulsed, molecular structures realigned, and something ancient and powerful prepared to make its presence known to a galaxy that had long since written humanity off as a failed experiment. The cosmic joke was about to become a cosmic revelation. The first attack came without warning, A Galactic Confederation battle group materialized at the edge of the New Geneva Research Station's defensive perimeter. 3 massive warships, each capable of obliterating entire planetary systems, positioned themselves with surgical precision. Their weapon systems charged, casting an ominous electromagnetic glow that spoke of overwhelming destructive potential. Unidentified vessel, boomed the primary communication channel. You are hereby ordered to submit to immediate quarantine and deconstruction protocols. Jack Reyes knew what that meant. Deconstruction was a euphemism for complete technological dissection, a process that would effectively destroy whatever secrets the vessel contained. The ship responded first. Quantum interference patterns erupted across the battle group's sensor arrays. Navigation systems went dark. Weapon calibration matrices dissolved into chaos. The massive warships, pinnacles of alien technological achievement, became nothing more than floating debris held together by increasingly confused computational systems. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched in stunned silence as the vessel demonstrated capabilities that made the most advanced alien military technologies look like children's toys. "How is this possible?" whispered Krulax, the silent researcher who had once mocked humanity's technological capabilities. The vessel's defensive systems were unlike anything in galactic military records. Not simple energy shields or weapon deflection systems, but something far more sophisticated. It was actively rewriting the fundamental computational language of the attacking ships. Navigation systems began to report impossible locations. Weapon targeting computers calculated trajectories that violated known physical laws. Jack's interface with the ship grew more complex. He wasn't just observing, he was participating. The vessel's artificial intelligence recognized him as more than an observer. He was a cognitive bridge, a human mind capable of understanding its deeper purpose. Diplomatic channels erupted in panic. The Galactic Confederation's Central Command began emergency transmissions, demanding explanations, threatening retaliation, revealing the depths of their fear. But the vessel was several steps ahead. Quantum communication bursts began to spread across multiple frequency bands. Not attacks, but information, compressed data packets that revealed layers of technological potential that made the Confederation's most advanced research look primitive. The ship was not just defending itself, it was making a statement. Humanity was not extinct. Humanity was not defeated. Humanity was waiting. The battle group's commanders watched in horror as their most sophisticated systems were systematically neutralized, not destroyed, not damaged, simply repurposed, redirected, transformed into something they could not comprehend. "We are not a threat," Jack transmitted through the quantum interface. "We are a potential." The words resonated differently than a standard communication. They were mathematical equations, computational possibilities, a language that spoke of potential rather than conflict. Elena understood something profound was happening. This was more than a military encounter. This was first contact on an entirely different level. The vessel began to generate holographic projections across the battle group's communication systems, compressed historical records, technological blueprints, genetic preservation strategies, a comprehensive overview of humanity's most sophisticated survival mechanism. Krulax's communication devices went completely silent. The Talon researcher who had spent years mocking human technological capabilities now watched in abject terror as everything he understood about galactic hierarchy was systematically dismantled. Defensive mechanisms continued to evolve. The ship was learning, adapting, responding to potential threats with a level of computational intelligence that defied current understanding. Jack became the primary translation mechanism. His human intuition, the very thing alien civilizations had consistently underestimated, proved to be the key to understanding the vessel's complex communication strategies. The Galactic Confederation's most advanced strategic AI systems began to crash, not through brute force, but through elegant computational complexity that simply overwhelmed their processing capabilities. A message began to resolve across multiple communication spectrums. Not a threat, Not a declaration of war, but a simple, profound statement. Humanity was back, and the galaxy would never be the same. The compression of human potential began to unfold. Within the vessel's quantum matrices, millennia of compressed knowledge erupted like a supernova of information. Jack Reyes stood at the epicenter, his neural interfaces struggling to process the sheer magnitude of what was being revealed. The ship was far more than a technological marvel. It was humanity's ultimate insurance policy. Compressed within its core were complete genetic repositories of human biodiversity, not just DNA sequences, but comprehensive genetic maps that could reconstruct entire populations from minimal biological samples. Advanced terraforming protocols, technological blueprints that represented centuries of scientific innovation, much of which had been lost during humanity's darkest periods. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched in scientific ecstasy as holographic projections revealed layers of technological potential that defied current galactic understanding. Entire scientific paradigms were about to be rewritten. The vessel's primary mission crystallized. It was a seed, a comprehensive restoration mechanism designed to resurrect human civilization or provide a technological leap to any species capable of understanding its complexity. Quantum communication channels began to broadcast carefully compressed information, not an invasion, not a threat, but a comprehensive overview of human potential that would fundamentally reshape galactic technological understanding. Kralax, the Ceylan researcher who had spent years mocking human capabilities, found himself trembling. The ship was revealing technologies that made the Galactic Confederation's most advanced systems look like primitive stone tools. Genetic reconstruction algorithms could potentially restore extinct species. Computational models could predict systemic interactions across centuries. Communication protocols emerged that made current transmission systems look like primitive smoke signals. "We are not gone," Jack transmitted through the quantum interface. "We are potential." The words carried multiple layers of meaning, mathematical equations, computational possibilities, a language that spoke of hope and renewal rather than conflict. Compressed within the vessel were strategies for planetary restoration, advanced medical technologies that could eliminate entire categories of disease, and computational models that could solve complex systemic challenges facing multiple civilizations. The Galactic Confederation's Central Command went into emergency session. Their most advanced AI systems struggled to process the incoming information. It was as if someone had suddenly introduced calculus to a civilization that had only understood basic counting. Elena understood the profound implications. This was more than a technological revelation. It was a reset button for galactic civilization. The vessel began generating holographic projections across multiple communication spectrums. Compressed historical records showed humanity's journey, not as a story of defeat, but as a narrative of persistent survival. Each technological breakthrough, each moment of potential extinction, revealed a species capable of adapting, surviving, and ultimately thriving. Planetary restoration protocols emerge. Technologies for cleaning toxic environments, methods for regenerating ecosystems, computational strategies for managing complex planetary systems that made current environmental management look like primitive guesswork. Jack became the primary translation mechanism. His human intuition, the very attribute alien civilizations had consistently underestimated, proved to be the key to understanding the ship's complex communication strategies. The vessel was not just sharing technology. It was offering a partnership, a chance for galactic civilizations to understand a different approach to technological and social development. Medical reconstruction algorithms revealed technologies that could potentially eliminate entire categories of genetic disorders. Computational models showed strategies for managing complex societal challenges that transcended traditional problem-solving approaches. Kralax's communication devices continued to malfunction, overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of the incoming information. The Ceylan researcher who had spent years mocking human technological capabilities now watched in abject terror as everything he understood about galactic hierarchy was systematically dismantled. A message began to resolve across multiple communication spectrums, Not a declaration of war, not a threat, but a profound invitation. Humanity was offering the galaxy a chance to understand true potential, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Galactic Confederation's Emergency Council convened in absolute chaos. Holographic displays flickered with impossible data streams. Representatives from 17 different advanced civilizations sat in stunned silence, their most sophisticated computational systems struggling to process the implications of the human vessel's emergence. "This is impossible," declared Grand Coordinator Zegzera of the Corvin Collective, her multiple sensory organs pulsing with agitation. "A single vessel cannot possess technologies that fundamentally challenge our entire understanding of galactic development." Jack Reyes watched the proceedings through a quantum-linked interface, his connection to the vessel allowing him to observe multiple communication channels simultaneously. The ship was not just responding to the confrontation, it was orchestrating it. Quantum communication networks began to collapse and rebuild themselves, not through destructive interference, but through a kind of computational judo that redirected entire communication infrastructures. The vessel demonstrated capabilities that made the most advanced alien technologies look like primitive radio transmissions. "We are presenting an opportunity," Jack transmitted, his words transforming into complex mathematical representations that transcended traditional language. Not a threat, not an invasion, a potential. The vessel began to generate comprehensive data packages, technological blueprints that solved seemingly impossible challenges, ecological restoration protocols that could resurrect entire planetary ecosystems, medical technologies that could eliminate entire categories of genetic disorders. Some council members wanted destruction, others wanted study. A faction of xenanthropologists saw the vessel as the most significant discovery in galactic history. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood as humanity's primary representative, her scientific credentials lending credibility to the vessel's revelations. "This is not about conquest," she argued. "This is about potential, about survival, about a different approach to technological and social development." The vessel's defensive capabilities continued to evolve. Entire battle groups found their most sophisticated weapon systems reduced to computational puzzles, not destroyed, not disabled, simply recontextualized. Kralax, the Cylon researcher who had spent years mocking human technological capabilities, now sat in the emergency council chambers. His previous ridicule had transformed into a kind of terrified fascination. Quantum communication bursts revealed layers of human potential that defied current galactic understanding. Technologies for interstellar travel that made current propulsion systems look like children's toys. Computational models that could predict complex systemic interactions across centuries. The vessel was doing more than defending itself. It was teaching. Each defensive action came with a comprehensive data package. Each redirection of military technology included advanced scientific insights. The ship was treating the confrontation as an educational opportunity. "We are offering a partnership," Jack transmitted. The message carried multiple layers of meaning: mathematical equations, computational possibilities, a language that spoke of cooperation rather than conflict. Planetary restoration protocols emerged, technologies for cleaning toxic environments, methods for regenerating ecosystems that made current environmental management look like primitive guesswork. The Galactic Confederation's central AI systems began to crash, not through brute force, but through elegant computational complexity that simply overwhelmed their processing capabilities. Some civilizations saw opportunity, others saw a threat. The Malaxian Diplomatic Corps began to argue for immediate communication. The Corvin Collective demanded complete technological quarantine. Jack became the primary translation mechanism. His human intuition, the very attribute alien civilizations had consistently underestimated, proved to be the key to understanding the ship's complex communication strategies. Genetic reconstruction algorithms revealed technologies that could potentially restore extinct species. Computational models showed strategies for managing complex societal challenges that transcended traditional problem-solving approaches. A profound tension filled the council chambers. The vessel was offering something unprecedented, a fundamental reimagining of technological and social development. The message became clear across multiple communication spectrums. Humanity was not asking for permission. Humanity was presenting an opportunity. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The final transformation began at the quantum level. Jack Reyes watched as the vessel transcended its physical form, becoming something more than a ship, a living repository of human potential that defied every known technological paradigm. Quantum matrices unfolded like impossible origami, revealing layers of complexity that made the most advanced alien technologies look like primitive sketches. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood beside him, her scientific understanding collapsing and rebuilding itself with each passing moment. The vessel was not just a ship. It was a seed, a promise, a testament to humanity's most profound survival strategy. Compressed within its quantum core were the dreams, innovations, and collective potential of an entire species. Genetic archives that could reconstruct entire populations. Technological blueprints that represented centuries of scientific innovation lost during humanity's darkest periods. Computational models that could predict and solve challenges across entire galactic ecosystems. Kralax, the silent researcher who had spent years mocking human capabilities, now watched in absolute terror as everything he understood about technological hierarchy disintegrated. The transformation spread. Quantum communication bursts erupted across multiple star systems, not as an invasion, not as a threat, but as an invitation, a comprehensive overview of human potential that would fundamentally reshape galactic understanding. Holographic projections materialized in research centers, diplomatic chambers, and scientific installations across multiple civilizations. Each projection told a story, not of human defeat, but of persistent survival, of a species that had been counted out repeatedly, yet always found a way to endure. The vessel became a bridge. Genetic reconstruction algorithms began to activate. Technologies emerged that could restore extinct species. Planetary restoration protocols revealed methods for healing entire ecosystems. Medical technologies that could eliminate entire categories of genetic disorders cascaded through communication networks. We are potential. Jack transmitted through the quantum interface. The message carried multiple layers of meaning, mathematical equations, computational possibilities, a language that spoke of hope and renewal. Elena understood the profound implications. This was more than a technological revelation. This was a reset button for galactic civilization. The Galactic Confederation's most advanced systems began to recalibrate. Entire computational paradigms were being rewritten. The ship was not just sharing technology, it was teaching, offering a fundamentally different approach to technological and social development. Compressed historical records emerged. Each technological breakthrough, each moment of potential extinction, revealed a species capable of adapting, surviving, and ultimately thriving. Humanity's journey was not a story of defeat, but of persistent reinvention. Jack became the primary translation mechanism. His human intuition, the very attribute alien civilizations had consistently underestimated, proved to be the key to understanding the complex communication strategies. Planetary management technologies revealed themselves. Methods for cleaning toxic environments. Strategies for managing complex societal challenges that transcended traditional problem-solving approaches. Each revelation was a masterclass in innovative thinking. The vessel's core mission crystallized. It was more than a survival mechanism. It was a catalyst, a way to offer galactic civilizations a different path of technological and social development. Communication channels across multiple star systems began to resolve a singular message, not a declaration of war, not a threat, but a profound invitation to reimagine potential. Humanity was offering the galaxy a chance to understand true innovation. The transformation continued. Quantum matrices unfolded. Technological potential expanded. The boundaries between ship, intelligence, and possibility began to blur. In that moment, the galaxy understood a fundamental truth. Humanity was not gone. Humanity was not defeated. Humanity had been waiting, preparing, evolving. And now, humanity was ready to reshape everything. The cosmic joke was over. The real story was just beginning.